Live. Hi, and welcome to System.debug level 77, hiring arcs and developers. I'm your co-host, Megan SF, aka Megan Broadkey.
And I'm your co-host, Nathan Pepper, aka May the S-Force be with you. I'm trying to do 77.
Whoa.
Hold
What
on,
are you
is that
doing with your
backwards
hands?
for you? 77. 77.
There,
Oh, wait, no.
one.
Here's what I do well.
There you go. There you go. Welcome to the show, folks. Today we're going to talk a little bit about hiring architects and developers. Everybody's favorite. That's right. And so excited to have you in the chat, Mike. Sorry for starting a couple minutes late. We were chatting. But yeah.
It was a chat before the chat. So now we got
the
Mike
chat
in the
before
chat.
the chat. Right?
There we go.
But today's topic, hiring architects and developers. And hey, welcome. And just how much fun it is. So I know we talk a lot about technical side and coding and systems and integrations, preparing for projects, but we got to get into soft skills, right? And I know we're hiring like crazy, and the company I work at actually went through some crazy rapid growth this past year, and I definitely learned a lot about hiring. Had some lessons learned and some good practices that I've started to adopt, and that we definitely started to do over the past year. What about you, Lucas, aka Nate Pepper?
Am I logged? I know I logged in as my actual Zoom. Is it still
Lucas
Lucas?
in the corner? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm every Zoom login possible. I haven't. So I will say I've been more on the training side. It's been a long time since I've actually been on an interview from the hiring side. But I've definitely we are focused on hiring somebody that is going to be a good employee, not necessarily somebody that knows all their limits memorized. And that's kind of one of those things is, okay, maybe you have 5 years in the ecosystem, but are you a critical thinker? Are you you can't teach critical thinking like you can teach Salesforce limits, right?
And
Sort of that
you
thing.
don't have to know everything. Nobody's ever going to know everything. But knowing the culture fit is a big one too. Are you going to be able to get along with people? Do you have character? Do you have personality? If you are eager to learn and you have the ability to learn and know how to look for answers, I mean, that alone is going to put you ahead of somebody that knows how to memorize, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Same thing with certifications. To me, certifications do nothing compared to somebody that knows how to learn and how to dig for answers. Yeah.
So on the beginning side, right? Hiring. I think we've all seen people companies that say, "Oh, here, complete these Trailhead modules or something similar." Oh, I lost your audio, Meg. What?
No, I'm still here.
I'm watching the YouTube too. Just muted. What is good and bad about that? Complete this, even if it's a My Trailhead thing, right, that a company does for you, and we've considered that. It's wow, but what are the pros and cons of complete these Trailhead modules, and then we'll know if you're a good developer or not.
So to me, I don't think that says anything about whether or not you're a good developer. That to me says that you can complete a task and that you can do follow through though.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm excited about, and I've done this at prior interviews before I found where I am, and in my home, so to speak. I love having a home. I've never really been able to say that before, so yay! 2.5 years, love it. So we're starting to do like a mocks and a mock review board type situation set up.
And not Apex mocks?
No, not Apex mocks. Still working on having scenarios for future architects and developers. So I know the previous developer manager had people code. Now, coding live, not a huge fan of the concept of coding live, just because I personally get nervous. I am a very on edge pacing person. As most of you know, I'm usually standing during this, and instead you're gonna see me like moving around in my chair right now. And I'm sure 5 minutes from now, you're gonna see me when we switch over to Nate talking, eventually see me standing up later in the call, then later see me sitting down again. So the idea of coding live is difficult. But the
Right.
idea of doing a scenario where you have enough leeway for flexibility, but you can go through everything from licensing to how you're going to solution to, answering a bunch of questions about a design and a build. That to me says, is someone a critical thinker? What do they know about the platform? What areas do they need improvement in? What are they interested in based on which way they go with the solution, if it's broad enough? And it kind of gives you a nice, well-rounded idea about them. A trailhead to me just says that they can copy and paste or read through something and answer a couple of questions versus showing if they can think critically. Yeah.
Right. And I forget who it was. I thought it might have been Matt Lacey, but somebody that we're in the Twitter sphere in Salesforce specifically made a point that you don't have a like, oh, show me like code that you've done on the side. Like, number one, you shouldn't be showing code that you've written for a company to another company, period. And
For
number
real.
two, like, just because like some people want to do open source stuff, that's great. I spin up repos. I don't complete 80% of the stuff that I have ideas for. That shouldn't be a prerequisite of you're a good employee or coder or not. Like, no, not everybody wants to pour their entire life into side stuff. Like, they actually want to, play an instrument or something else. But the also, just because you do amazing code every day doesn't mean that the side code you do is going to be amazing. And that's a double standard to set, right? So be careful on that. As I've had people hit me up because, oh, look, you've got a GitHub presence. Yes, that's nice. Man, some people are parents or just travelers, or, maybe they actually make Princess Leia posters on the side instead of GitHub repositories. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something to keep in mind too, is, people aren't just Salesforce. So yes, Annie here and I, we love doing our podcast in our free time. We also call each other to talk about Salesforce. We're also user group leaders. But we are not just Salesforce, as surprising as that is. We do fun stuff. I do photography, and I sold my first photography like 12 years ago, and I have been since. I also love camping. I also do cycling and kayaking. I love being outdoors. There's more to us than just Salesforce, and finding that out about people. What is it that they do for fun is important. It makes them people. We all are unique. We can't be Salesforce all the time. And to your point about you can't show code from another job, unless you want the code that they are doing for your company once they get hired to be shown out to somebody else, never consider asking somebody to show you their code. Not okay to even ask, but I have heard it asked so many times. It's just not okay. Yeah.
I will say, like, I had an interview experience, wow, I think 4 years ago now, where it was a great App Exchange partner. And it was back, I think it might have been before there was any metadata in Apex. Remember, like, Andy Fawcett's fight to get like custom metadata records and whatnot in Apex, so that you don't have to like suck in the WSDL from the API, the SOAP API. It was back before you could do that. And what they wanted to do is they had a component, a Visualforce component that they wanted to put on a page layout. And you wanted like a list of, okay, here are your lead layouts, marketing, sales, those like 3 ones that they bolt on to every developer org.
Right.
Which layout do you want to bolt this component onto? Multi-select, ready, go. They wanted to see if I could do that, but they paid me to do it.
Yeah.
And they paid me X amount of dollars an hour. I submit, that was like, oh my gosh, I've actually got a 1099 or something for like this code that I wrote for them that They
Yeah.
weren't looking to like, don't do that. Don't be like, oh, let's see if you can write this, and then just use that for your, free code stuff.
So
They paid you to do it.
I do know that the code that has been done on calls is more of a show me how you would call this, show me how you would call that. And it's all done within the hour, and it's the exact same on every single dev interview. And it's like a single call over and over. And it's
Right.
how many of these specific types of situations can you do? Very generic.
Right.
And then for the mocks that we're looking at, yes, we're trying to keep them in the industry, but again, it's that keep it very broad. Let them get creative. Show me what you could do. We're going to give you some guidelines, but I really want to see how you tailor this. And it's all within that time frame. It's not take home work. It's a show me your skill set here and now type of thing. And not we want you to go home, work on this and bring it back. And I've had it though, where I've had companies when I've done interviews in the past where they're like, I want you to take this scenario. We want to meet again tomorrow, or I need you to email me by tomorrow. I need you to come up with at least 40 different user stories. Show me how you'd write those 40 user stories. Just tell me what the business requirement would be and tell me what the task would be to go along with it. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? I got a job. Like,
and I
I'm
like
sorry,
find
what?
and replace as a blank. I want blank to remove all that and just get the meat of the story.
I'm like, I don't got time for that.
Yeah, nobody's got time for that. So what's one of the most helpful things that you've found, in some of those like Google-ish sort of do this, where it's more of a rhetorical question to see how you think rather than get code out of you? What are some of the most helpful scenarios that you've experienced, either as an interviewer or an interviewee?
I have to say, as an interviewee, the most helpful thing I was ever told was not from the Google, but was actually from a very insightful man named Zelly, Charles Zeller, who once told me that it's not just us interviewing you, it's you interviewing us too. You need to see if we fit you. And if you've got questions, or if you would ever feel like it's not going to work out, it's okay to call it out or to dig in. And I don't think I had ever really realized that before in the interview process, or I had get in a place where they were comfortable enough to say that. And it's probably the most insightful thing I ever heard. Yeah. And it changed my perspective of how interviews work. And I make sure to call that out to my mentees too. And I think it's important. Really important. If you don't feel like you're a fit for the company, that's important to think about too. Because if you're not going to be happy, you spend so much time at work every day. Is it worth it to be unhappy?
So much time.
So much time. Like, think about how many hours there are 24 hours in a day. You sleep 8 hours. Okay. So
maybe 6 if you're old.
So we're down to 16 hours. Okay.
Half a day.
You're down to 16 hours. Okay. So now we've got 8 hours, 9 hours with lunch. So now 9 hours of the day you're working. So the majority of your day is spent doing work activity.
You eat lunch? That's awesome.
I am on calls through lunch. Yeah. So the minimum amount of time that you are going to be working is 9 hours. Are you okay with being unhappy the majority of your day through the majority of your living life? I'm not. Yeah.
And that can be as simple. I mean, that can be, this company is too structured for me. Like, for instance, when I was leaving my first Salesforce job, I wasn't like quite like, it was the first thing. I came in as a VBA guy, Excel VBA guy. And then I almost left that company to be a Microsoft Access database developer for a hospitalist billing company. I probably would have ended myself within a month, because it was just this office where, you you literally like walk to the printer to go get something and say like, "Hey, Bob," I would have hated it.
My very first like job while I was in college was working in green screen and access. Yeah.
All right.
AS 400 and access. That's what I ran.
Access is not very alt tab friendly, I found.
No, but my other system was pure alt tab FP.
I think I got let go on the second day at a temp job because just the boss had also let go 6 temps before me, which I didn't get the heads up on. Thanks, unnamed temp company, not letting me know that I was like the 5th or 6th person to get like let go because this person wasn't happy. But yeah, like stop doing alt tab. I went, oh no, like no. If that's the culture, if you want to click culture, I'm gonna keyboard shortcut my way out of here. Goodbye. And it can be that simple. It can be, sometimes people need more structure though. Like sometimes it can be too loose and people aren't comfortable with that. And that's fine.
So,
just save everybody the turnaround,
Right. So
painful for us.
I've had friends that have left jobs for more structure. I personally, when I happen to like, so my very first jobs were in startup culture and in small businesses, and they were very anti-red tape. You can't really have a lot of red tape in startups or small businesses because we wear so many hats. And so I tried to go to a corporation, but that wasn't gonna work for me. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
although I do kind of envy people with red fedoras. Like I think I would like to try. Who works for Red Hat that we know? Pecan?
Oh, Pecan.
Yeah.
Pecan.
Red Hat. Shout out. Yeah.
He's amazing. He's so awesome. And
I got my lightning hat.
That branching strategy. Oh my gosh, he took the time to like hop on the phone with me and walk through some pretty awesome get stuff. He's so great. I'm so appreciative. I love when a lot of people will just get on the phone and like micro walk me through like every mini step in their process and explain every detail. My heroes.
Speaking of which, so yes, like that's something that I have been really trying to not pioneer, but like hey, peer programming, shadowing, go, like yay, nay, pros, cons.
Dude, I see many pros to peer programming, but I also see benefits to just getting the job done by yourself and having quiet time sometimes. You cannot peer program all day.
Yeah. So something that I've tried in the last 2 weeks is I've got a junior dev and I'm writing more tickets. It used to be that I was more of a code monkey. And now that I am writing more tickets, being more of a lead, I'm finding that in the time that I can write a ticket, I can also have someone on the call and make sure that they don't get blocked by anything in the time that I write the ticket, make the subtask. Oh my gosh, I'm about to learn Jython because Jira plugins, right? Like I just don't have the time to ask access for all these, create a template of subtasks for like dev, QA, this and that for Jira. But no, like it takes me just about as much time to write a ticket as it does for a dev to do the work. And it's a tough, like, well, do I write 100 of these beforehand and then unleash them on the world? Or do I maybe like write this, describe it to the dev, write the ticket, have them work on it, and then I do overhead stuff as they do that, but then I can jump in for 5 minutes and say, no, yeah, like don't do a wire property, do a wire function because you can't handle errors as easily on a wire, it's like LWC stuff.
Yeah. So I find it useful to, and I know this is kind of like anti-normal. I find it useful to have the team not always participate, but as they have time, listening in to some of the grooming calls. That way they can hear some of what's going on with process, some of what's happening. Well, we write up the
100%.
tickets.
100%. Yeah.
And that way, if they're going to build it, they can hear some of it. They can recall it. And here, yes.
Well, because otherwise, then you become
like, I are working with the team. Yeah.
If only you are on that requirement call, you become somebody that your job is to be on a meeting with a client and produce something that a developer just works off of without any interaction with the client, which is not necessarily desirable, right?
No,
because then you're making your job, you're spending more time and energy in documentation rather than building, which is not agile. Like that's not.
And it takes longer for improvement if we can't get that immediate feedback from somebody that might be overhearing that's going to do the build that says, by the way, we might want to add this. That would have been one of the questions I asked from what we just put together.
So here's a question: hiring people that are experienced and friendly with like agile methodologies, right?
Oh my
How
goodness.
is that gone? And what are your experiences at past places where they have not been as agile as you want? Or some people are waterfall friendly, right?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that as like a job seeker or a position filler?
So I have noticed in the Salesforce world, we are so agile or wagile, whichever way you want to call it. We're backseat horses.
I'm going to eat to that.
We honestly need to keep in mind that depending on what your project is, we need that high level overview in the beginning, but sometimes we do need to dig into detail in the beginning. And we have to plan better from the get-go. Some projects, we get all of our requirements up front, but we always have to groom every sprint. There's no way around it.
You got to do sprint planning, bandwidth,
ticket
grooming. You're not like, there's a reason when you go into Jira, into the backlog area, and you go to the active sprint, there's no create issue link on the active sprint. That's by purpose. Yeah.
Because you can't have an issue on something in play.
Well, and you're supposed to know your bandwidth for the sprint before you start the sprint, instead of just it's like the mythical man month, adding more people hours at the last minute has been shown 40 years ago to not be successful. You know.
A question for you, Nate. So you're in a sprint. Where is your QA team in testing?
See, and that's why I like to make I mean, we're kind of getting off of the hiring or training thing, but
sorry,
that's why I like that's why I like to make things granular, because I'd rather have deliverable items move from left to right on the board during the sprint that are QA-able, instead of
you don't want to watch them go backwards
to your we can get into a whole subtask floozy thing, like like if you have an enhancement that wasn't there, do you hold the ticket back, right? Like, no, you don't want to hold the ticket back. If it's a functional thing and it's an add-on or if it's an afterthought, like, deliver it, right? I mean, to be honest, like, if there's something deliverable, if there's A, B, and C and you delivered A and B, perfect shouldn't be the enemy of good, right? But
if you don't have capacity, you don't have capacity. It's going to have to go to the backlog.
Yeah, it's got to go on the backlog, prioritize. And there's nothing wrong with saying, yes, this is going to be a part of next sprint, and I know that immediately, versus waiting for like the sprint planning meeting the day before the next sprint kicks off to load everything into sprint next, right? Like sprint 18 or whatever you're on. However, I will say that here's a problem. How do you manage, okay, we're supposed to do A, B, and C, and then next sprint, agile fall, we're supposed to do things D, E, and F, right? Oh, wait, but we have one thing to fix on A, two things to fix on B, and three things to fix on C. How does that prioritize with D, E, and F that was supposed to be done already in sprint 19 or whatever, And that's the thing, is you'll always finding more work. You're never going to find less work. So how do you prioritize that, but this is one of those, like, some people are more accustomed to working in that structured waterfall experience, and that could be developers and it could be clients, so
And to go along with that, one thing that really helps with Agile and making sure you have your sprint plan properly is knowing what is that current process and what is the process you're working to. If you don't have a process, you just have a solution, you're never going to get it done. Because a solution will always change. A process is something you're working towards.
Solution, something you got to stick to. And that, whether that is, hey, we do this, this stuff in Jira or Trello or Monday.com or whatever you're using. But you've got to have that solid, and getting those things ironed out between, well, wait, like the client uses Jira and we use Jira. Are we going to use their sprint schedule or our own, or their board or our own? Like, these are things that make it a lot easier to work. If you're a junior dev coming in, junior dev that's trying to become a senior dev, these are going to be the things that people look for comfort, because like you said, you spend over half your day in this stuff, right? If you're anything serious
Exactly.
in this life, and it's like over half of your waking life, and you've got to make it smooth.
You don't want it to be painful.
I feel like we should have a DevOps talk next. But
no, we always talk DevOps. I think what we should talk next is process. What is your process? How do you plan?
Yeah.
How do you plan projects?
Yeah. Programming. Okay, Mike's a fan of peer programming. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, Mike, the thing that I've found good about that is like I was saying, if it's going to take me 15 to 30 minutes to write a basic card, and I can have that dev on with me while I sort of, like, I hate the term war room, but right, like I can piece room through it. We don't have those anymore, right? Especially now that we're all virtual, like that's a less of a thing. I remember going, okay, we're going to sit in this room for 2 hours. And like, if you need to take a bio, that's fine. But we are not leaving this room into like Congress, right? Like January 6th, like we're going to finish this. And I feel like there's a lack of that. And I think even if it takes you 1 hour to do something and it takes a junior dev 3 or 4 hours to do something, for them to sit on the call with you for the hour and a half, still less than the 4 hours if you're billing the same for you and the other person, right? 1.5 times 2 is still less than them taking 4 hours to do it. But also, you get that mentorship, and you also get the rapport, right? You also get that rapport of, hey, like, I'm here. Oh, no, wait. Some of the best things that have come out of the peer programming sessions, even with my amazing UI developer at my company, Phil, I'll give him a shout out. Just showing him in VS Code, like, wait, Phil, do Alt up. Like, don't wait, no. Don't select anything in VS Code. Just do Control C and Control V. It copied the whole line of code. He's like, what? Just those little things. Like, where do you get that besides those little snips? No one's going to look at Slack and go, oh yeah, you posted that in Slack, I paid attention. I've had so many people go, oh my gosh, like I can like drag a line of code up and down by doing Option up or Alt up. Like, and it's mine. You can select the whole block. What I do is I do a try catch or a then catch in LWC, and I drag a whole thing into this other area. And they go, nice. How'd you do that? I went,
magic.
Oh, you gotta know. Yeah, like, and just it's those little things that I learned back in like the Excel days with Office. Like everything's accessible in the keyboard, and you've got to learn that because, like I said, back in the day when somebody said, oh my God, like, so many keyboard shortcuts, like, how do you go so fast? And I said, there's no time not to. There's too much work, right? So
it is a side note to add to that. So one thing I like to do is, rather than show somebody how to do it, I will call out the steps while I have them drive, because I feel like the click path will help driving in somebody's head. So I do that with a lot of mentoring with my team, be it project team, be it my team, or be it with anyone at the company that asks me for help. Is I'll call up the steps while they drive.
Nice.
And I know
you
that just makes
obviously
me everyone's favorite person to have on the phone.
you make sure to let them know that they should close the banners and set up. Was it like what's Alex Sutherland's?
That's actually step number 1 is to close the Salesforce
Close
banner.
that banner.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Can't focus here. Oh, Alex, yeah. That's the number one. Like on a client call, I try to mute myself a little more now, but no, if it's internal, it's like, okay, so first of all, I know why it's not working. You need to close the banner. Okay, now we can actually
I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this mug. So big
did you
shout
get the
out.
mug? You got the mug.
Hold on, this is a big shout out to Jade VB Floors, who got me a different mug, but she got me this fabulous mug that I love using in meetings. Not the banner mug, but check this out. Hold on.
I'm not arguing. I'm explaining why. I've got a blank mug. Dang it! It's got a chip. I've got a chip. That's all I've got.
It happens to the best of us. But yeah.
So
great
I'm
show,
do like
man.
a call.
But we'll have to do a follow-up. Yeah. We're 5 over.
Let's see.
I appreciate everyone being here in the chat, but we should probably call it a night. Schedule next show for 2 weeks from today, 4:30 PT.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for checking in, and for everybody that is listening or watching later.
Happy 2021.
There's always more.
Happy future. Yeah.
77. I didn't practice that.
Megan.
Before, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a palindrome. 77. It's a numeric palindrome, right?
Yeah.
Watch us watch our previous episodes and leave comments below. Click the subscribe. Follow, subscribe, click the bell.
Watch out for the new upcoming 6-minute Salesforce on Experience Builder, as well as the other one on audiences, both in editing.
Experience Builder. You're still a Control F thing for me and not necessarily a deploy, but that's okay. I still love you, Experience Builder.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I love my .site files. Thank you all.
Switch back to the bundle. Switch to the bundle. We love you.
I'm trying. Existing sites. It's hard. Net new, awesome.
I'll get you there.
We'll get there.
Much love.
Leave your questions, and thank you all for being part of our Salesforce Ohana.
Yeah. Happy day. Peace out. Much love.
System.debug, everyone.